Edward Swaine's diary, 31st of August 1939. Can it really mean that after all we are to have war? The more I think things over, the more I think it will be averted. But today a drastic decree was made which really makes one wonder whether war will come this time. This decree concerns the evacuation of children from vulnerable areas and will take place tomorrow. We have to take 3 children. It will be very inconvenient as we have not sufficient bedding, etc., but the poor young things must come somewhere. In all, Stoke has to take about 700, so most homes will have at least 1 child. This evening the parish is in a state of excitement. Our Boys Brigade boys are doing great work, but some people are thinking that the end has come one way or another. 2 things emerge from this evacuation. One, that if this is a great game of bluff, we are answering Germany each time, and it is clear that there is to be no more appeasement. Secondly, if there is to be a war, which God forbid, then the kids will be safe in these country retreats. I believe personally the one peace to a very great extent is Mussolini. Edward Swaine's diary, September the 1st, 1939. The danger of war became very imminent today, and it appears that the thing which we all abhor is to start. The first indication of trouble came with the grave news at 10:30 a.m. that Danzig had been incorporated into Germany and that German troops had crossed the Polish frontier. In the afternoon came news of general mobilization, and in the evening Parliament reassembled to hear that we were expecting a reply from Hitler for negotiations to begin, otherwise there would be a general war. The weather seemed to fit the crisis perfectly, warm, humid air and a general appearance of gloom. Evacuees arrived tonight, and the blackout regulations come into force. Edward Swaine's diary, 2nd of September 1939. The memory of this day was one of long, anxious hours, with no reply received from Germany, and everyone agreed none would be forthcoming, but everyone still clings to the belief that something would happen to prevent the accursed war beginning. And so the long day passed, hour after hour, wondering, waiting, preparing for the worst, and hoping for the best. Evacuation continues. Many poor children arrive. My word, how sad they look. This is the real meaning of war, the misery it brings to innocent people and children who have no cause or concern in any conflict. We issue gas masks for North Street this morning. What an infernal muddle. The whole thing is an absolute jumble, with many people having no masks at all, and in fact they did not bother to get fitted. Terrific thunderstorm tonight. Sunday, the 3rd of September 1939, Edward Swaine's diary. We are at war with Germany. Monday, 4th of September 1939, Edward Swaine's diary. First day back at the factory after the momentous weekend. In the afternoon I became much heartened when I listened to some of the tales of the people from London who have been brought here. The Cutters had some very funny tales to tell. One cannot help feeling amused when one hears of raids on orchards, sheep and pigs being chased. The children have never seen such things, and the wide open spaces is a great delight to them. But of course, as time goes on, they will have to be curbed. But far more ugly is the tales about some of the women, who spend a good deal of time in the public houses. Consequently, many people who are teetotalers do not want them in their homes, and many people have been moved on again. 5th of September 1939. Stoke's problem is not foremost of the actual war, but of the evacuees, who are making real trouble for themselves and unhappiness for others. For example, we hear of women refusing to wash their dirty clothes, and of people and children performing their ablutions all over the furniture of the people with whom they are staying, and the language they use, and the loose talk of many of the women. But I feel sure that these tales do not represent the majority, who must feel very upset and strange in their new surroundings. May God help them to keep their faces smiling. Edward Swaine's diary, 6th of September 1939. Reports are still circulating that only impress on one the great problem of the evacuees. It appears that most villages have their own particular cases, some worse than others. The women are the worst offenders. It seems that the children are beginning to settle in. It will be much better when the schools are open again. But isn't it true that one half of the world has no idea how the other half lives? What a tragedy it is, how truly pathetic, how pitiful that such circumstances prevail whereby these poor people live such rotten, drab lives. Let's all hope that the period they spend in the country will help them to get out of the drabness of their lives. Edward Swaine's diary, 3rd of October 1939. The soldiers leave Stoke today. A fine lot of fellows. What does the future hold for them? Edward Swaine's diary, 8th of October 1939. Sunday Bible class for the Boys' Brigade. We have a good class now, with a lot of extra fellows, evacuees, etc. Our session starts tomorrow, and for this year we have stretched our joining ages a bit, taking boys as long as they are 12 during the session. Jack Waterman told us of his experience with his evacuee. He had done a lavatory in his trousers. Edward Swaine's diary, 16th of October 1939. Boys' Brigade tonight. A splendid parade with 41 boys turned out. The evacuees, of course, helped to swell the numbers, but it is some years since I saw such a stunning parade. Edward Swaine's diary, 20th of October 1939. More troops expected in Stoke this weekend. Edward Swaine's diary, 23rd of October 1939. Mother has 2 soldiers today from Brighton. What a lot of soldiers there are in Yeovil, and how strange Yeovil appears without lights, and the unusual experience of sitting in a bus without illumination. Edward Swaine's diary, 3rd of December 1939. I spoke at class in the afternoon on our business. Several boys absent, owing to the fact that many parents from London were visiting their children. Edward Swaine's diary, 10th of December 1939, Sunday. It has been a very pleasant day, and although marred by rain later, I enjoyed it immensely. I went fishing with Father P. and Will to Kingsbury, a trip I had promised myself some time before on several occasions, but which had never materialised. How lovely the countryside is, even in winter. The fields were very wet and muddy, but who cared? We were in touch with something wonderful, too big for man to estimate. The song of the birds, the lowing of the cows, the sound of running water, and the church bells ringing in the clear morning air mean something dear to me. It is part of what a countryman feels and sees in life. It is peace, nothing boisterous. We see things as they are and should be, not what they can be made to look like. Got home about 4 p.m, wet but happy. My pleasure on going on this outing was only heightened by reading an article in the Radio Times about the country in winter, in derogatory fashion. He had been evacuated and said that the silence was awful, company was unintelligent, no amusements, etc., and there were none of the comforts which the town could offer. That is only his own small opinion. Edward Swaine's diary, 11th of December 1939. Boys' Brigade Week came to an end yesterday, and tonight we called in the money. It was a very gratifying result, £26 and 18 shillings so far, and in view of these tragic days it was very encouraging. But I always wonder why it is that some boys can collect 10 shillings or so, and others get a few pence. A few boys, chiefly evacuees, got a blank card. Edward Swaine's diary, Sunday the 13th of May 1940. This week has been so tragic that I have hardly felt like writing anything down. At last we can say that we are in the front line, and we have got to learn to take it. And perhaps much harder knocks yet too. During the evenings last week I spent a good deal of time visiting homes in North Street to fit new filters on gas masks. It is interesting to note how people are taking this serious business. All are worried, but some people are affected very badly and speak as though they are destined for a bomb. We must keep a stiff upper lip. Last night's bomb did a lot of damage by all accounts. Some fell on the camp at Hamdon, killing some soldiers, variously numbered from 5 to 12. The worst came on Church Street, near the Central Cinema, and it made a mess of the old county court and solicitors' offices. My cousin Megan was seriously injured by falling stones during this incident, and is suffering from a damaged hip. Morphia had to be applied, and she is still in hospital. These raids will certainly stop the Yeovil boys visiting. Lloyd spoke at class. Very unsure of his matter, it appeared. Spoke on ungratefulness, but the boys were very restless. We start Boys' Brigade tomorrow. Splendid concert tonight. Heard John McCormack in a special star turn.